Hi, Mick McQuaid here with part two of joins. We're going to do multiple joins this time. We're going to do all these joins here. I'm in the same setup that I was in last time, which I'll tell you a little bit more about it this time. I don't want to scare you, but I've got a lot of programs running here, a lot of software running. So I'm using a terminal emulator called iTerm, and within that I'm using a terminal multiplexer called TMUX, that's TMUX, and within that I have a pane. I have three panes in this window. One pane is running a text editor called Vim with the scratchpad.sql file showing, which is on Canvas, so you can get this file, and it will be changing during the semester. And then in this pane and this pane both, I just have the terminal running in the SQLite examples folder, and this is the contents. You can see I've typed ls here. This is the contents of this folder right now, and it's pretty much the same as it was last time, except this is out of date because I've now got a so this is an interesting problem with command line interfaces. They show you the state of the system when you typed the command. So I typed ls here for list the contents of the directory, and then I moved a screenshot into this directory as library erdiagram.png. So now there's another file here that's not shown there, library erdiagram.png. Then I also tested the version of SQLite 3 that's installed by default on this computer because I wanted to make sure it was close to the one that I'm actually running. I'm actually running 3.49 something, which I got from a package manager that I have on here called Homebrew or Brew. And I wanted to make sure that this version, which is probably what you're using, is close enough that it has all the features. And indeed, it is close enough. It has all the features that we're going to use. And then I opened this in another program, in the preview program. This is that file. It's an ER diagram of the library database that we're going to be using here. And in this pane right here, I'm going to run SQLite 3. So let's take a quick look at the ER diagram. We've already done a join of books and publisher. And in this video, we're going to rename. There's a table called books, which is this table here. We're going to rename that to book format because books doesn't make any sense. Book format is a junction table between the format table and the books table. So it makes a lot of sense to call it book format. So over here we're going to do that renaming in a minute. Now there's also, books have the property that they have an author who may have written many books, so we need another junction table here. So we have two junction tables here, one for authors in books and one for formats in books. And these crow's feet show that there's a one-to-many relationship between authors and book author, and a one-to-many relationship between books and book author. And the same thing is true here. If we didn't have these junction tables, we would have a many-to-many relationship between these two tables. And many-to-many relationships are problematic, as we've learned previously in this course. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of that picture. Let me just say we're going to use all of these tables here, and now I'll get rid of that picture and just start SQLite 3 as I did last time. And you can see that I have a different version. I have 3.49.2 instead of 3.43.2, but they're very similar versions. And I see that I can enter .help for usage hints. And I can see that I'm not connected to any database because I just said SQLite 3. I didn't say SQLite 3 library DB, which is what I perhaps should have said. But over here I have a command I can paste in called .open library DB. So I'm going to paste that in. And now I'm in library DB over in the other pane. So I'm going to paste in .tables, and the tables will correspond. By the way, there's a kind of a secret table or tables in here that you can't see. So you just see the tables that are relevant to you. There's at least one other table called table info. It is a property of relational databases that all the information can be stored in tables. So even though we see, when we select all the authors, we just see the authors' names, there's this other information. In fact, let me put it over here. I'm going to say .schema authors, and that's just, that orange stuff is just my little AI tool trying to guess what I'm going to type next, but it guessed wrong. So this information here has to be stored somewhere. So it's in fact stored in a relational table. And that relational table is inside the library.db file, but it's not shown when you look at the tables. I think it's in a file called table info or something like that. I don't pay much attention to that stuff, but it's worthwhile for you to know because it's very important that relational data is stored in a relational format, is always stored in a relational format. The data, the metadata, the data about the data is stored in a relational format in this, and this is a representation of it. Okay, so I'm going to, so I have this, I've already changed this. I guess I forgot I already changed this. I'm going to undo this, and the way I'm going to undo it is I'm going to say SQLite 3. First I'm going to trash library.db. I'm going to say SQLite 3 library.db. library.sql. So that will recreate the library DB table with the errors from the library.sql file. So we'll manually correct those errors. Okay, so now if I say tables, I get books. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and paste in this alter table command. Now recall that we used previously, in fact I'm going to just scroll up here, we used update to fix this. So let's do that again because we obviously that problem is now back. So let me highlight that, and I'll do this one also. Okay, so now we've got what we need. We've got the correct names, and so I'm going to start doing these joins. So this first join is similar to what we did before. We're going to join books and formats. And since I restarted this, I need to change the mode. I think I'm going to change the mode. What did I change it to last time? Column? I think I changed it to column last time. I'll do it as column this time. I'm doing it this way so that there's a record of what I did. If I just do if I just type this in over here in this pane, there won't be a record of what I did. So when you go to look at this file, you won't know exactly what I did. And so it'll be surprising that you don't get the same results that I get. Okay, yeah, so we're in the column format. There are a whole bunch of formats. We can make an HTML table. We can make a markdown table. We can make a CSV file, that's a comma separated values file. And all this stuff can be exported from SQLite in order to use in other programs. And there are many ways to export data. Okay, so now I'm going to do something a little bit more complicated, which is I'm going to do, notice that we joined here book format and books and formats, all three of those together, so it's a little bit more complicated. But now I'm going to order these by the author's last name. And yeah, so now we've got all the authors and their titles organized by the author's last name, but that's still not as well, actually that is satisfactory. So I was going to add distinct so that we didn't get multiple copies. But we didn't get multiple copies. So I don't really need this. Shall I trash this? Is that the only thing I did? I guess. All right, I'm going to trash that. And oh, here's something new. We can use the concat function to concatenate the first and last names so that they're not in separate columns. They'll just be in one column. So let's do that. I think I might take out the distinct though. Yeah. Let's take out the distinct and see what happens. Distinct is supposed to keep duplicates from happening, because remember, we have multiple copies of each book, because we have the hardcover, the softcover, the digital edition, and the audio book. But apparently that's not a big issue here. Another thing that we might want to do is number these. So I think there are 62 items in this list, if I recall correctly, in author and title. And what I would like to do is number them the way that we numbered things before, but this is a little bit more complicated to do. So I'm going to, let me get rid of distinct again. I'm actually surprised I don't need distinct there because of those multiple copies. Is it because I'm not using format? Yeah, it's because I'm not using the format table, I guess. Okay, so it's not seeing the 4 copies because it's not seeing the different formats that we have them in. Okay, so now we have the same. We have 62 of these, but we sort of have counted them. And I think I told you before in the last video that I like numbers to be right justified. So that's what this does. This part right here. This part right here is what gives us the row number. And what's really interesting here, notice that there are 2 select statements. So if I can revive an ancient meme, Yo Dog, we saw that you like to select, so we put a select in your select so you can select while you select. So there's a select statement in here that's in parentheses. See, there's the end parenthesis right there. And here's the starting parenthesis right here. So this select statement produces a table. And a table is a valid thing to put in a select statement. So we can have this, the output of this will be run first automatically. SQLite is sensible enough to run the inner query that's within parentheses before it runs the outer query. And so instead of saying from some table name here, I've done a select and created a table. So I've created a table with 62 rows, and then I've used this row number construct, and this is a somewhat beyond the scope of our class. It's called a window. Row number is called a window function, and it has to have a window in which to do this function, and that's a concept that's beyond the scope of this class. So I'm just going to ask you to take it on faith that you can use this construct to surround a select statement and give it numbers. I like to have row numbers on things to refer to. So this is just a way to do that without explaining to you. And the as hashtag is just, that's also known as the number sign. And that's the symbol that I'm using in this table. You could say anything there, anything you want there. Everything else I think is self-explanatory. Oh, one thing that I haven't done before is that I'm ordering by 2 columns. I'm ordering by the author's last name and by the book's title. So you notice that this is alphabetical. The W's are at the end. But in the case of an author who has multiple books, like Martha Wells, we have titles listed in alphabetical order. Okay, and then what else did I do here? I've again got this distinct thing that I think I don't need. I've added the publisher here, so I've now got 4 tables joined together because I've added the publisher's name. Because in relational databases, we typically, let me look at this again, we typically have in these junction tables just the ID numbers. We don't have the information such as the publisher's actual name. This publisher ID corresponds to this publisher here. This is just an ID number. If we were going to do this in a more elaborate way, we could even have a separate editions table, because sometimes, different publishers will do different editions of the same book. So we could make this much more complicated for real life. Okay, but here we're just going to add the publishers. And this is too wide to fit, so I'm just going to expand that window to take up, or expand that pane to take up the whole display. And this is interesting. There's a blank here. I don't know why there's a blank here. It doesn't seem to affect the numbering. Okay, well, in any event, that is a brief introduction to multiple joins, some more elaborate joins than what you did before. And if you take a look in the examples, in the SQLite examples file, there's a more elaborate database that you can play with if you want to really go to town with joins. You can do some pretty elaborate joins with this Chinook database. So the Chinook database, and the Chinook database exists in several different versions. So this particular version has the table names all in lowercase. I have another version which is called Chinook variant.sql, which has them in mixed case. So you have to be careful of which one you're using, because they don't exactly follow the same conventions. Okay, so that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching.